All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this 1st of August edition of the MSP Success webinar series. Excited to have Mail Protector. We've got Ben Hathaway, CTO of Mail Protector, in the wings here, all ready to go. We're going to be talking about new AI tools to eliminate up to 90% of unwanted emails for your clients. Yes, if we put AI in the title, it gets more people to register, but it truly is AI that's built into the tool set here. Really cool with this of what we're going to be taking a look at. Ben's going to be talking about a little bit of presentation and then some live demo of the system. And so you get both parts of that as we're going through. One thing that I would encourage all of you, our sister company, Technology Marketing Toolkit, we've got the MSP Marketing Roadshow coming up soon. It's mspmarketingroadshow.com. Only $99 to attend. If you're a TMT member, you get in for free. You just put a $100 deposit down to reserve your spot. You're going to want to attend this. It's starting actually later this month in Dallas, and then we're going to be heading to Newark in September, and then to Las Vegas, which is filling up fast, in October. And speaking of AI, day 2 of that is going to be all around how to utilize AI to get more leads, better results, more new customers, easier and faster than you've been doing before. Ton of new AI tools that are out there from a sales and marketing perspective that you're going to want to take a look at and be able to see of really what's going on, how you can utilize those to be able to get more efficient in your business. That's on day 2 of the event. Day 1 of that event is going to be all about how to secure more high-value clients, or as Robin Robbins talks about, as HVCs. There is a trend right now that's going on in the market right now where it is getting tougher to get new clients, particularly this year and this election year here in the US, tougher to get new clients. And focusing on the right high-value clients is going to be your best value, best way to be able to break that and to be able to tailor yourself exactly for those best high-value clients that trust you and want to work with you, want to do all the cool things that you do, including things like we're going to be talking about here today. So I'll post that up here into the chat here. It is mspmarketingroadshow.com. Make sure that you get registered for one of those. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ben. Ben Hathaway is the CTO of Mail Protector. He's been there for 16 years, so longtime veteran of the MSP channel. And Ben's got a ton of great things to talk about here today. Note that we do have time at the end of this for Q&A. And so if you have any questions, the easiest way to put those is going to be in the Q&A. You can also, if you want to just have any comments, not necessarily questions that you have to ask, even perhaps if you want to pop in there where you're dialed in here for today's webinar, just go ahead and put that in the chat. You can chat with each other on this webcast, but any questions that you have, throw them in the Q&A. Ben and I will have time at the end of this webinar to make sure that we get those answered. But with that, Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so like the headline said, we are definitely going to talk about some AI, but really the topic I'm here to discuss with you is even bigger than that. Really, it's kind of email as a whole and what we call email's next chapter. We really want to be able to turn the page and kind of change email in a way that nothing else has been able to do for a long time. Before we even jump into the weeds of that, I'd love to take a step back here and give you a little preview. After we kind of get through the slides here, I want to do something a little more interactive, a little more fun. We call it the inbox challenge. So take note of this email address and go ahead, now, or let me pull up the chat real quick and throw it in there for everyone so you don't have to type. Go ahead and send an email to that address. The inbox challenge is about showing you the product in real time, live, with your emails, how they get handled, so we can really show you how what we have here changes the game. So, really, again, going back to the beginning here, email's next chapter starts with understanding and identifying the problem. The problem being email's broken. Email is that love-hate kind of technology. You can't live with it, you can't live without it kind of thing, right? We can't escape it, but we also no one truly enjoys using email. I think that's pretty safe to say. This powerful communication tool is abused in so many ways, so I can't really blame people for kind of dreading it, but we're kind of stuck with using it because it's still the most powerful communication tool out there. So, what are some of those problems? Just run through them real quickly. The obvious ones: spam, impersonation, phishing. These are all kind of known, obvious problems with email, right? Like, I don't need to explain or convince you of that. You all have seen headlines and experienced it probably firsthand in a lot of ways, at least, hopefully just the spam part of it and not getting phished or anything. But they're obvious threats. But the problem and the reason email is broken goes further than just those obvious things that a lot of solutions out there try to address. It's a deeper problem. You open your email to accomplish something, to send an email, to reply to somebody, and before you know it, you get a message from this person you don't know asking you a question, an invite from a company who scanned your badge at boot camp or some other event, or even worse, bought a list of somebody else who scanned your badge at an event. Some other companies asking you for feedback that you probably don't know. Before you know it, you're buried. What did you open your email to do again? Email has become a chore. It's constant messages from unwanted sources, cluttering your inboxes and your attention. This is a communication tool. That was what it was created for, but it's become an open door where anybody can get your attention, or even worse, try to take advantage of you. The root of that challenge, the root of this problem is a trust and permission problem. Email has a trust problem, ultimately. It's not the only communication technology that has it, though. You've probably gotten a message on this pop up, and your phone has probably done this probably once today, if not today, several times this week, right? Phone is a similar communication problem, or similar communication tool with a similar problem of trust and permission. You don't have control over it. You see phones putting in features like this to try to help return that control over permission and trust, giving you control over who can make your phone ring, because you don't want it just buzzing and going off all day long, right? It's the same way when unwanted emails are hitting your inbox all day long. It's a tax on your attention that it has a real cost associated with. So, we're fixing these email, or attempting to fix these email problems with, or the trust problem with phones. Why not with email? A lot of the common tactics in this industry today focus on the symptoms rather than that root trust and permission problem. That makes them ineffective. They only pretend to solve the problem. And solutions that pretend to solve problems is basically the definition of security fear. So let's take a look at a few examples real quickly here. Subject tag. You probably have a message sitting in your inbox right now that has one of these tags on the subject. If you didn't have it put on there by your own email systems, you may be communicating with someone and they replied, and all of a sudden you see these tags showing up in the subjects. The problem is not so much even the clutter. I mean, that's part of the problem with that noise that it creates by adding extra stuff to the subject line. The real problem with this is when you put the tags on, in this example, all external email, the good and the bad, it doesn't really differentiate what a threat is versus a good message. So as a human, we just kind of learn to tune this noise out, so it's not effective. Another similar tactic is static email banners. You'll see, same example here, but the static text of this came from outside your organization. Like, well, no kidding, I already knew that this person wasn't in my organization. Do not click on it. Like, it's telling you the same thing in every message. Again, good and bad. You're not going to read this as the user every time. You tune them out. They do not actually protect you. That's the worst part of these types of tactics, is they're pretending to do something that they're not. Another kind of age-old one is disabling images, and then all of a sudden your email starts to look like this, where you can't even understand it. You can't even consume the content of the email because it's all hidden. So much email communication today has images and is rich in that way. Hiding the images is not a good solution. Killing the tool while we're trying to save it doesn't really fix the problem, and it doesn't really get to the root of the issue. Again, trust and permission is the root of the issue. And the first step to solving a problem is understanding it. And I think that's why I wanted to cover that first, so we can really have a common understanding of what the product we've been working on is aiming to solve. It's not just about treating the symptoms, it's about getting to the root of the problem, because we said it doesn't have to be this way. We can fix email. 2.5 years ago, we set out to do just that. It was probably almost 3 years at this point. It was called Project Apex. This was one of my drawings from the original project at that time. We set out to build a completely new email platform with a highly integrated product that combines the best of gateway security, what you're probably familiar with, where you change MX records, and mailbox security, the security that works over APIs. We listened to partners for years. We've done this before with our email encryption product, Bracket. If you've heard about it or used it, you'll see it's the simplest, most secure email encryption product on the market. That came out of an effort of listening to you all and understanding your needs, your problems, your customers' problems and progress they're seeking to find. We did the same thing with Project Apex. We wanted to solve this problem that we kept hearing partners do, which was kind of nothing fully solved it. So you were layering different solutions on top of each other, maybe a gateway with an API solution, combining those, trying to solve the problem on your own, because nothing fully did it. That creates a mess of products to deploy and support for you and your users. They don't always play nice together. So in the end, ultimately, you still don't get the result you're looking for. You need to be able to consolidate your email stack and trust one solution to get this job done. So we built that. It's called Shield. Shield is noise canceling headphones for your inbox. That is a marketing tagline for sure, but it actually came out of real world use during the beta. We didn't just imagine, hey, let's describe it this way. People were literally saying, hey, it's a lot like that first time you put on noise canceling headphones. It's a little weird even, because it's so good at drowning out the noise and only letting the signal through, the messages you actually want to receive, the communication you want and are benefiting from. So we ran with that analogy, right? Noise canceling headphones for your inbox. It's the easiest way to explain what Shield does. Shield eliminates all spam and malicious threats like phishing, but it doesn't stop there. It stops all unwanted email. Notice I'm saying unwanted email, not bad. It's not just about bad stuff. The noise you've learned to live with, Shield cancels that out and stops it at the source. Now you can experience a calm inbox with only the email you want. You now have control of that trust and permission. Before and after, this is a great illustration. You've got the yellow stuff here kind of being the unwanted, green wanted, red, maybe some bad stuff getting through still. Before and after, all that gets through is the email that you want. It transforms your email experience from what we call a noisy jungle into a Zen garden of productivity. Every email must earn its place, safely putting you in control of who contacts you. Who contacts you? That's key, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Shield's not just another filter, though. That's something incredibly important and something you're going to see here in the demo. It's an entirely different, new and novel approach. It's a different email experience. And at the core of that, traditionally, email security products have always assumed, like, by default, all messages are good and wanted. And then we build these different mechanisms to try to identify the bad. Well, we flip those defaults. With Shield, we start with the default that all email is bad, and we're building a system that tries to find the good ones, find the wanted ones is a better way of saying it. This applies the zero trust principle to email protection. It's a much more secure starting point, but it doesn't stop there. It's not as simple as just taking, the magical solution of zero trust security and throwing it on email. That doesn't work. That's been tried in the past in various forms and failed. What kind of came out of this process was really figuring out the how. How can we apply this proven security principle that you see across the board, EDR, all the different categories that utilize zero trust. But email is kind of confusingly one area where it's not really been done before. So we said, let's figure that out. And what came out of that effort is called the zero trust decision waterfall. It is a multi-tiered, multi-layer approach to applying zero trust security to your mailbox, to your inbox. each tier of the waterfall has an important purpose and design that integrates with the next tier. At the top, we have the high risk threat layer. This layer is essential. If you cannot identify high risk threats, you can't actually apply zero trust to the network of people that you want to communicate with. This layer is extensive. It has various forms of this is where we'll put in the AI category for the first time. There are neural networks targeting phishing behavior, not content, and that's a key difference in the tactics that we use there. Behavioral analysis is much more effective than content analysis, for example, because it's all spoofed, right? And with the rise of generative AI, it's only getting easier to spoof content. So this layer targets things, but one of the most important things it targets is impersonation and spoofing, because that if we can ensure the authenticity of the sender, we can now then proceed to the next layer, which is what we call the trust network. This is where Shield's adaptive learning really kicks in. The trust network is about who you want to communicate with. Shield's constantly learning and updating your trust network without you having to do anything special. That's an important part. It just kind of feels like magic. Shield meets you where you are, lets you use your email how you naturally would want to use it, but continuously learns and adapts to what your individual preferences are. Each user has its own neural network individually trained on its interactions and behaviors and the types of messages and characteristics around it. So what you get is you use the product, it's literally learning your preferences, because what's wanted and unwanted is not an objective measure that you can just kind of create a master system for. It's subjective, it's personalized. That's where the third layer comes in. A key to really accomplishing the noise canceling headphones for your inbox concept is not just stopping good and bad email, but getting into that category of what we would call good, right? Not threatening, not dangerous email, but noise. The unwanted layer is where the noise cancellation really goes from being a filter to being something, again, sort of magical, because it does it based on your preferences. This is where the personalized training of the system really kicks in, and you're able to, again, just use your email, but ultimately get just the ones or just the messages you want. The noise goes away. But ultimately, at the bottom of the waterfall, you have to have a space for those first time senders, right? Your network is a picture of who you've communicated to this point in time and who you want to communicate with. But what about that new person you just met at an event, right? Or a new vendor reaching out to you, or whatever it may be. As their messages clear these other layers, they're not high risk threats, they're not dangerous messages, and they're not even unwanted, like noisy messages. But we don't have a trust for them in place. So what do we do with those? We can't just drop them in the inbox. That's what a traditional filter would do. And the problem with that is it doesn't actually apply zero trust in that way. So we have a process, I'm about to show it to you, that's called first time sender review. It kind of separates those out into a separate space, so you understand, hey, this is someone you're hearing from the first time, and that alone is a security gain, a benefit, and it completes the puzzle of how you can effectively apply zero trust to email in a complete way, not in an isolated individual solutions kind of way with things like SPF and DMARC and DKIM, but in a comprehensive way. Andy Laird, one of our great partners, really the key to this quote is the fact that he saw not just a significant in terms of the overall magnitude, but percentage wise, a 90% drop, not in bad emails. This was the noise he was getting every day. Went from a 92% reduction in that. Imagine getting back the amount of time you're spending right now going through those extra unwanted emails and doing something with them, even if you're just quickly deleting them. You're wasting minutes at a minimum every day that stack up very quickly. And that's where this product really kind of transitions. When you solve the email protection problem this well, it actually shifts into a new space. It shifts into becoming a productivity tool. It makes your email more productive. It makes you more productive. It makes your users more productive. Time's the scarcest resource we have. Once you've wasted, you can't get it back. Shield unlocks the full potential for email, making it the safest and most efficient way to communicate. Think about the productivity tools in your stack today. Do you even have any, right? If not, you're missing out on a chance to increase your monthly recurring revenue. It's a huge opportunity to help your users in a way that you probably haven't before. So again, going back to this real quick, we're going to jump into the inbox challenge here. If you haven't sent an email, go ahead and send one now. I'll show you kind of Shield in action as your messages come through, and then we'll jump into a few more details around Shield. This is kind of a high-level view of just some of the highlights of Shield, and we're gonna, again, we've covered Zero Trust, but we're gonna jump into a few of them in a live demo here in a second. Let's switch over. All right, so we have a few examples already here, and there's a little bit of a mixture. One thing I want to point out right from the get-go, you'll see a couple of new messages in here. It's like, uh-oh, a couple of people got through to my inbox. How'd that happen? These are known contacts. This is Kim. She works with us at Mail Protector. She's in my trust network already. So again, this isn't about creating a second inbox for you to have to kind of just manage that in addition to your normal inbox. First-time senders only get set aside when they're truly first time. Kim has communicated with me in the past. Probably the trust network just learned from me replying to her at some point. And even on day one or day zero, your users' existing communication history is used to build out that trust network. So they're not going to just be getting first-time sender reviews for every single message they receive. Will the volume be a little bit higher at the beginning? Yes, because it's got to learn. It's got to build the trust network. So you got to give it a little time. But on day zero, it is already learning and building that out. So even immediately, it's not every message. Same thing with John here. John is part of Mail Protector. So he's in my trust network. So these two messages came right through as messages I want because that's what they are. But what you'll see here is the first-time sender review notification. One thing to note and to watch as I interact with the product, these notifications, both this one and the bundler one, which is a feature we'll touch on here soon enough, a really exciting one. These notifications clean up after themselves. You'll notice it was a 4 when I first opened this. Now it's a 5. We don't stack up 5 individual notifications like you would get with like a digest report system being sent hourly or daily. Shield actually, we said we can't create new noise. So let's be smart about how we create the experience for your users and clean up after ourselves. So like this notification as we go through it will actually disappear on its own. Now, there's 2 ways to interact with the first-time sender review. One of them is to open it in Shield itself. So now you have this very clean, easy to use, low friction experience where you can kind of go through, safely preview any messages and make a decision quickly on whether you want to trust or silence those senders. So the options in here are by default, it's kind of binary, right? There's trust or silence, good or bad. But inside of each of those, you got a couple options. Deliver immediately, goes to the inbox. Deliver bundled, uses our bundler feature, which we'll touch on shortly. And then with silence, you have 3 options for silencing a message. You can either send it to the junk, archive, or trash folders. And these are messages, when you silence somebody, you won't see those messages. They'll go straight to those locations. Again, the noise cancellation of that is what becomes magical. So now this is a fix, as you can see. You can go through and trust these messages within Shield's UI. And by the time you get back over here, that message is going to be in your inbox. As you can see how quickly that was moved into that location. Now I have Kristen's message, and I can see what we call the heads-up display, and I'll touch on that in a second here. But the heads-up display is an important aspect of the Shield user experience. So you can go through these, go ahead and trust a few. I got to pick on somebody. I know Drew, so I'll silence Drew just to illustrate the point here. Sorry, Drew. And then what you'll see, those messages as they're moving around and going into the right spot, and Drew's, you'll see, is over here. Now, one did arrive in the junk folder on its own, and there's typically a result or a reason. Now, if that were a false positive, because it's just in the junk folder, and because Shield will learn from whatever natural interactions you have, all I have to do is take David's message out of the junk folder into the inbox. And you'll see the message as we open it within Shield here will get updated with the latest based on that move. It will trust David because I moved him uh, from the junk folder to the inbox. So you'll see those little interactions, very natural interactions that a user tends to take on their own. They don't have to learn them, right? If I see a message in my junk folder that I wanted, what am I going to do with it? Move it out. Now, one thing that's important, bad messages, high risk messages do not get to the junk folder at all. The user not exposed to those in a way that could cause problems or security risks, just to be clear about that. This one, it looks like maybe there was an IP reputation type of RBL thing. So this result here came back as low risk, source with a bad reputation. That happens. What's important though is because I moved that one time. Now, if David, you send me another message if you want, you'll see his future messages won't go into the junk folder. This is one of those Shield adapting and learning quickly and treating low security risks as something that something like reputation as less significant than the trust network's priority in this case. So it adapts, it learns. And in one of the accidental features of Shield is it actually does the same thing in terms of Microsoft's kind of putting your messages in the junk folder. You've probably experienced where you'll get a false positive because Microsoft's putting it in the junk folder for you. And then you move it out, and then the next one goes right back in the junk folder. Shield does not do that. In fact, it will actually correct Microsoft's own false positives in that sense. Again, it was kind of an accidental feature, but Shield's learning and understanding of the messages you want learns in depth quickly enough that we found that it actually kind of fixes the less than ideal result that you get from Microsoft alone. So these messages that I trusted are now in here. Now, you saw me do it through Shield's interface. And what typically happens, this interface is very well designed for mobile. A lot of times people will use this interface on mobile, but when you're on your desktop like we are right now, you just kind of want to be able to do it without leaving your email client, right? Well, Shield again meets your users and you as the user where you are. So if you want to review first-time senders, there are two special folders, but one specifically for first-time sender reviews. So as you learn, you'll see this notification maybe for a first-time sender, and you'll just click over to the review folder. A lot of people will put it in their favorites up here, which is a really nice way to do it. And then all I have to do to decide to trust or silence this message is drag it to where I would kind of normally drag it, right? If I want this message, then I'll drag it to my inbox. And what happens with that interaction, again, just like when I move junk to inbox, Shield learns. Shield trains the network. It builds out that network. All automatically. All I had to do was move the message. So that kind of illustrates that point. And great, David, you sent email number 2. Thank you for helping me illustrate that. So even though there was a false positive there with the reputation, again, security posture is very tight by default, making it very easy for you to just grab that message out of the junk folder, move it, train the system, and now future messages, you don't have to repeat that. That is key. One thing you'll notice also is like I said, the notification cleaned itself up. It's gone. I didn't do that. Promise. No secret, delete button pushes there to get rid of it. That just happens automatically. Now, use David's original here. One of the aspects of this where you'll see in the email client itself, doesn't matter what email client, Outlook desktop, Outlook Mac, Outlook Windows, Outlook for web. If you've got it here, the same account opening up on web. The experience is consistent across the email client. This works with any email client, no plugins, apps to install, manage, deploy, set passwords for, update, any of that garbage. You just use your email. Again, meets you where you are. But the HUD is one of our patented pieces of technology that we came up with. It is a dynamic real-time interface for showing you security insights in every single message you get inside of the email client, no matter what you use. The HUD, like I said, it refreshes. If you do something with this message, the information changes. So the lightning bolt, for example, me moving it from the junk to the inbox folder added that trust. Well, that trust is indicated by the lightning bolt. And then when we open the HUD, or let me take a step back. The second purpose of the HUD, besides showing you high level insights, security insights about the message, is one click access into a feature we call X-Ray. X-Ray is the most secure email client that exists. And I say that pretty confidently because of just the principles we've used when designing it. Even the content, you may think like, oh, it's just a webmail client. No, this content here is an image. We render the content in a sandbox environment on our servers. You can't click, copy, paste, get into a link or do anything with attachments inside of X-Ray. But X-Ray sees through the message. It shows your users insights about the message, just like the HUD previews, that you can't get in any other email client. That's what makes it the most secure. If a dangerous message were to be open in X-Ray, it gets blurred out by default. That's what we call safe preview in terms of the content. These insights down here are all connected. So from the HUD over here to X-Ray, you have little hints about what these different icons mean, and just kind of like your phone, right? Your phone has a lot of icons in the top bar or various places, and as you use it, you just learn it. And what happens with Shield is it's very easy to use and understand. Like, these are good because they're green. These are a warning as yellow, and the red ones probably mean something's bad. But as you kind of use it, you also get trained on some of these these insights of what is going on behind that message. So reputation, whether it's the signature is authentic. What is it talking about there? This is referencing kind of the technical aspects of email in terms of DKIM signatures. But none of your users need to know what DKIM stands for, what it does, what it means. They just need to understand that there's a good attribute, something that can build their confidence maybe in this message. And that's what these insight cards do, whether they're good warnings or bad alerts around those messages. Let me see if I can grab a message that gets held. Yes, here's a good example. So some messages don't make it to the mailbox. We call that jail. We called it jail because Microsoft has a quarantine, and we don't want you to have to think, what's this quarantine and that quarantine? So we came up with a different name for it. But fundamentally, it's a similar concept of let's hold these messages outside because they hit that top high-risk threat layer. Messages like that will appear like this in Shield. So it'll tell you exactly why it's high risk. In this case, it triggered an obvious, like a very high spam score. If it triggered multiple things, it will explain all of those things in this reason here as well. And you'll see, like, it's literally flashing at you. When you get into a high risk scenario, it's kind of hard to miss. So you can kind of, again, understand these insights in plain English. These cards and this X-Ray experience is teaching your users about the real email they're getting. So, you may be doing phishing simulations and things like that. I question the effectiveness because a lot of people aren't going to want to, go through that training, right? But if you're able to just in small doses kind of continue to help them understand why a message is bad, the real messages that they're getting, I think it's a more effective way to do security awareness training. Another feature of X-Ray is link sandboxing. So, in this case, you've got some links. They may be safe or not, but again, you can open them. This one's just a redirect. Let's see if we can find a good one. This is a tricky message. Let's go to a different one here. This one back up. Try a different one. One of the aspects of X-Ray is just the kind of multiple dimensions to the sandboxing. I talked about kind of message content sandboxing. You've got link sandboxing. You've got file sandboxing. All of those different aspects give you the protection needed to be able to fully see a message, but not get kind of sucked in or tricked by a specific link or a solution like that. Again, with the links, you can fully preview them just like the message content. Another feature in X-Ray is something we call Lockbox. Lockbox allows you to put an extra layer of protection on any message in your mailbox. So, thinking about in the case the hopefully never happening to you scenario of an account compromise situation. If you take messages with sensitive materials and they're in lockbox ahead of time, so they have you want to protect anything that has an attachment like a PDF or a spreadsheet or financial data or password resets, anything that kind of falls into that category of messages that you really want to protect with another level of protection. That's what Lockbox is for. It allows you to lock the message. You can do it manually in this case. And what happens, you'll see already over here, this message is now locked. So the content has been redacted from the message itself in your mailbox. So if someone were to gain access to this mailbox and the sensitive data is behind this, it requires an extra layer of authentication outside of Microsoft. It's one of those things that Microsoft can't provide. Sure, you can turn on all the two-factor and security mechanisms to protect the account to start with, but what you can't provide is this extra out-of-band authentication layer. And so that is provided by Shield in this case. So when you want to go unlock this message, as the user, you have to go through what we call a security checkpoint. In this case, it's using SMS authentication or two-factor authentication. Let me just grab the code real quick here. Type that in, verify, and now I have unlocked that message. So if I go back here now, open it back up, original content right back where I would expect it to be. Very powerful feature. And as we continue to add more and more automation and advancements to Shield, the plans for Lockbox become much bigger with automatically locking certain types of messages. Like I said, password resets. Our goal is if you ever have a user get compromised, we want that to go from just a horrible day to maybe just an uncomfortably bad day. Where you didn't lose all your sensitive data, you didn't have every one of your accounts taken over because they just sent a bunch of password resets. We make it harder for those types of things to happen with that feature. There's one more feature I want to hit on that is kind of really squarely in that productivity category of going further, going beyond protection into productivity. And it really comes back to the concept, some email can wait. There are messages that you get that you don't need popping into your inbox throughout the day. It'd be great if you could just bundle them up, almost like you do with your real snail mail, probably, right? Like they come in bundles. You go through them all at once. You don't get dripped on throughout the day, stealing your attention. Well, there's a lot of email you want probably that would benefit from the same kind of concept. And that's what Bundler is all about. You can designate the in the trust network, like we saw here, you can designate certain senders' emails to be bundled. And it's as simple as that. Once you have designated to be bundled, they'll be delivered to this special folder. And again, you'll get notified on your schedule, and I'll show you that you can completely customize as the user. So you can control when you get notified about whatever's been bundled for you, or you can turn the notifications off and just check it manually if you want to. Completely customizable. But when you get notified, you'll get a message like this one telling you you have some bundled messages to review. You can open that again in the Shield interface, or you can use the special folder that these messages are set aside in right inside the email client that you're used to. Again, bring the email or bring the experience to your users so they don't have to learn something new unless they want. Now, Bundler does have a reason to use the interface that goes beyond what you can do in the email client. Bundler uses, large language model AI to summarize email content into a short one-paragraph summary. If you can get the gist with this message or with the summary and move on, you can save time not having to try to open up and parse all the details of that message yourself. So, the goal with Bundler is to go through these messages quickly and be done with them. That's why you'll see a button to mark them as done. And I can control, you'll see the tooltip there says move to archive. I can control what done means. For me, I have it set to move them to the archive folder. For there's two other options. You can just simply mark them as read and leave them in the bundle folder, or you can move them to the trash. And what happens, you'll see as I uh, click that button to mark it as done, that message was moved to the archive. It disappeared over here in the email client. And maybe there's a message that I want to do something with. Well, if I'm in this interface, how do I reply to it? That's not the place to do that. So we gave you a way to kind of quickly and easily shuffle that message over to your inbox, which is where you're used to having actionable emails, right? So if I want to, maybe this is an advertisement and I do want to take a look at the sale and maybe order something, I can simply click move to inbox. And that gets that, again, out of my bundle list. There, it's out of the bundle folder. Now it's over here. And I can, you know, go through this, use this email, do what I want to do with this email in my normal flow on that side. And then when I'm done, I'm finished, bundler's empty, this folder's empty, and we go back here, and that you'll notice that notification has already been cleaned up, right? So, that kind of experience is all about saving you time, getting you through the messages that aren't as in time, not as urgent, but still wanted. So, kind of one more thing that I think I kind of jumped over a little too quickly, but links, in terms of link sandboxing, you can again see you can do full link sandboxing on the server here, where you can see a picture. I can't get fished through this. This isn't just a browser within the browser. I can't use this in a way that can harm me as a user. I can also see every redirect. A lot of times phishing emails take some pretty suspect routes to get to some weird websites. This kind of, again, X-ray is all about exposing that information. All right, so that covers kind of the keys to Shield's overall, initial most common experience. There's a lot more to it. Like we saw on this slide here, Shield has a ton of features. You saw me use Spotlight briefly. Spotlight is all about helping you with that email discoverability problem, right? Shield uniquely sits all the way around your email stack. So it has perimeter visibility as well as mailbox visibility, both in and outbound. So you can get, as a user or an admin, to any message in your email stack in one place. You don't have to think, I'm going to open up my email client to find this. Well, I couldn't find it there, so now I need to open my email security provider's website and search in my quarantine, and then maybe I need to go search in Microsoft. Like, no, all of that problem is gone with Spotlight. You search in one place and you can find it any of your email and act on it accordingly. Another aspect of Shield that is very unique is the actual management side of Shield. We call it control mode. With control, you are as an administrator, you are into control with just simply toggling this switch. As a Shield user, think of control as just kind of the back side of the same product. The huge advantages to that are there's no administrative credentials beyond. It's the same credentials. You don't have to have another set. You reduce your risk area by not having your admins have another thing to log into. So, controlling it at that level. Again, we use security checks to add that extra layer for certain sensitive actions on top of that. Now, one thing is very unique to the Shield administrative interface is what we call veto requests. You're already doing this today, right? Your users get a message held in their quarantine or can't find it or whatever that they think they want. They think it's a safe message, so they'll ask you, depending on how you have your security information or settings set up, maybe they can release on their own, maybe they can't. By default, Shield allows users, when they encounter a high risk message, to request a veto on the decision. They think it's safe, even though the system did not. And what that allows them to do is then that notifies your designated veto reviewers, the administrators you want to handle those requests, and they get access to that user's view in X-ray temporarily. So this is all about protecting the privacy of the users. You can't just go dig through your users' messages, or your admins can't. This is all upon request. So when they ask for a veto, temporary permission is granted to that message to veto reviewers, which gives them complete visibility into X-Ray, to the content, to the links, to the files, to the insights, everything to make the best decision to protect their users. But as part of that, you can actually educate your users again. When you confirm a veto, whether you're denying or approving it, you can put a small explanation in there, and that note gets sent to your user. Now, if you approve the veto, that message is delivered to their inbox automatically and immediately. They'll also get the explanation, confirmation that it's been approved. If it gets denied, they'll just get the notification. Obviously, we're not going to send them the message. So this is an opportunity to, again, not just protect your users, but educate them, but do it in a way that is super efficient for you as their administrator. Because we know your time, your text time is your margin. So everything you'll notice around Shield is to make it as easy as possible for your users to use and easy for you to administer. So you are saving that time, saving and protecting your margin. All right. Talked a lot, so I think it's time for some QA.
All right, very very cool stuff, Ben. You got a ton on this. I learned a lot. I really like that with the AI summary when you've got those bundled emails and being able to go through them because it's one thing to be able to put them into to one location and you still got to scroll through and click through because I use a different tool that I've just been using for years. But even when I do that, I got to go and click through those and actually read them and whatever else. Kind of gets
Right.
into that same sort of thing like Google's doing now and Facebook's doing of where I don't have to read all the results. I can just look at what the summary is. So very cool. I'm gonna launch
Yeah.
something. If you guys do have questions, I see a question in the queue. I'm gonna launch a quick poll on this. If you guys don't mind, I'm just going replying to that with one of the three options there on that, then that would be fantastic. I appreciate it. Here, question. Kim's asking, if a trusted contact's mailbox is compromised, will Shield stop the threat?
Yes. So kind of going back to the secure or the zero trust decision waterfall layered approach that we've taken here, it's not as simple as the person sending you a message. Their message is scrutinized in literally tens of like double digits types of analysis, separate systems analyzing different aspects of the message on a security level to make sure this type of behavior is filtered as well. So, because that is a very, common scenario where a compromised mailbox is the source of the threat. So you can't you can't just go at this like an allow block type of concept. You have to have a layered approach, comprehensive approach that factors in content analysis, behavioral analysis, as well as message characteristics and the who and the trust network in that aspect too.
Yeah, very cool. There was a question that was posted by someone that was in the inbox there, and they were saying, mine is, it was the one that did the follow-up email, and he said, I'm sending it through Microsoft 365, but it was showing it as a maybe the trusted sender or there was something that was on there. Maybe it's on the
Yeah, I
it was on
think
the
the
first
first
email, I
message
think it
here had a
was.
bad
Yeah,
reputation, which is funny because the second one didn't, right?
doesn't. Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure David didn't send that message any differently, right? What you'll see there is again something Microsoft has struggled with a lot more in the last several months, even is IP reputation.
yeah,
And one of the reasons I don't want to say the name, but someone else in our industry had an issue where they were actually the source of a lot of phishing emails, and those were then going out or coming from Microsoft servers. So in that case, those even Microsoft servers pick up a bad reputation. One of these messages probably came from a server that was on one of those reputation lists, whereas this one didn't. Right? Microsoft's huge. Every message you send probably comes through a different server most of the time. So that's where you got those different results. But even if this second one would have come from a server with bad reputation, I still would have gotten it to the inbox because that specific insight is set as a lower risk insight. And that actually kind of brings up one more piece that you can do within this is what we call risk level. So this is how you customize the
Hmm.
behavior of the decision engine in Shield. You can do some users can get what we call expert mode features um, inside of Shield where they can customize the risk levels on their own. By default, that's up to the admin. But you can customize how different categories of results factor in terms of the risk level that influences how those messages are handled. Completely customizable at the org level as well as individual user level, so you can kind of really in a very powerful way customize the behavior of different categories of results. And that would be this one right here, right? Like the bad
Sure.
reputation. If you wanted to crank up the security, you could make it moderate or high, where those messages were maybe handled as higher risk than they are by default. It's up to you and kind of the individual needs of every customer and organization.
Very, very cool. I want to try to figure out, how did you realize that the best place to put Drew was untrusted? I
Yeah,
would have
I
done
mean,
the
I
same
always have
exact
to pick
thing.
on somebody
Yeah,
to
Drew's
illustrate the
probably gonna
point. So I,
yell at me here on Teams.
sorry, Drew.
And
I mean,
you,
I'll reverse that, and that actually illustrates a good point. Like, if I were to accidentally silence Drew by putting him into the junk folder, and I realize, oh wait, this is Drew. I do actually want these messages.
yeah,
All I have to do is drag that to the inbox. So now Drew's message is in the inbox, but also you'll see already the HUD is updated with the lightning bolt. So that
yes,
updated in a way. So now future messages from Drew are going to go to my inbox now. So.
yeah. So Kim was asking another question here that I just saw. Is that how does Shield work with Microsoft 365 and not against it?
That's a great question as well. Let me pull this back up here. We say it enhances Microsoft 365. One of the principles we used when designing Shield is we didn't want you to have to kind of go when you deploy Shield. We don't want you to have to go in and turn off of a bunch of defenses. We feel like more layers aren't a bad thing. So, but as well as the administrative burden that creates, right? If you need to like specially set up connectors to disable certain Microsoft behaviors, uh, that's not a good thing. So, and it wasn't an easy job, but we built Shield to complement the platform, being Microsoft 365. We started with Microsoft 365. In case anybody's curious, Google is another platform we plan to support, but there's most of our user base was already on Microsoft 365, so we started there. But I like to say, like, Shield cuts with the grain. So as we built every aspect of Shield out, we wanted it to really enhance the Microsoft 365 experience, not fundamentally change it. So it's a very familiar and easy to adopt product when you're just used to using Outlook and the environment and the tools that exist with Microsoft 365. So it works great with everything in Microsoft 365. Like I said, Spotlight helps you identify things from perimeter to mailbox. All of those things really go to support that. Uh, taking the platform that is 365 and making it even better.
So big question on here is that two-part question. So how is the product priced? Like, what's the license model on it? And then if someone's interested, what do they do next? What's the next step?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, really, honestly, I gave you a demo, but there's so much more to show. I kind of pick and choose just the essential pieces that I know everybody's going to appreciate. But as you can see from this slide here, there's much more to show. Like really getting in there one on one with our team, having a demo with them where they can kind of walk through the specific aspects, answer your questions is the next step. You can go to our website, mailprotector.com, and schedule that demo right from there. That I would definitely recommend taking that step, even if you're just curious, because again, until you see all these different aspects and what makes Shield so complete as a solution, it's hard for me to cover it in a 1 hour webinar. In terms of cost, all of our products are priced on kind of a volume basis. So we have I think the MSRP on Shield is somewhere around the $6 range. I think it is. Cost to partners is in that $3 or $4 range with discounts based on the number of mailboxes that you support, and so that it falls down into the lower price ranges, pretty easily for depending on your situation. So again, that's part of that conversation you can have with us when we're doing that demo and really digging into the details.
All right, very cool. So I will note for everyone that had marked there that they're interested or ready to go right now. I know we had a combination of those that we're going through. We'll make sure we're going to get the list over to Ben and his team. They'll follow up with you if you want to get it on it even sooner. Go to mailprotector.com to be able to go in and schedule your demo, get with someone on their team to be able to do the full walkthrough of all of this. Make sure that you saw it here on mspsuccess.com, because then they'll be able to customize that. They already know what Ben's talked about here and doesn't have to go through everything on the high level demo. They can just cut right to it, cut to the chase of all the great stuff that we didn't cover here on this one today. So Ben, I appreciate you spending the last hour with us here. I'm not seeing any more questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up today's MSP Success webinar. Thanks, everyone, and look forward to seeing you on the next call. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.